Activists and local officials have been raising concerns about a proposed natural gas pipeline through the Back Bay and South End. In recent years, New England has become more dependent on natural gas for home heating and electrical power plants, but opponents of the plan say more natural gas consumption will be a setback for efforts to put the brakes on climate change. Tonight we'll hear from one of the pipeline opponents, the co-founder of the Boston Clean Energy Coalition, James Michel. Thank you very much for being with us, James.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
James, first of all, what do we know about this pipeline? What it's supposed to do and where it's supposed to go?
Well, we got wind of it almost a year ago. It is supposed to snake its way through the Back Bay, South End, and its primary purpose is to feed new development in the downtown area and the Back Bay area. So, you know, there are a number of, there's one completed, one under construction, kind of luxury high-rise condo buildings, a couple of more that are in the BPDA review process, and yeah, that's the purpose. And the problem is that this is the wrong direction for us as a city, as a society, and especially in this era where we have an administration in Washington that is pushing pushing use of coal. Sort of, we're going to be great again by expanding our extraction and use of fossil fuels. We say no. Boston has to really set the example. We have committed as a city to being carbon neutral by 2050. But projects like this are just going to set us back. This is not going to help. This is not going to allow us to achieve those goals if all this new construction incorporates fracked gas. I can't call it natural, Chris, because it's not.
What's the difference?
Between what?
Between fracked gas and, I guess, any other kind of natural gas.
Well, the term natural gas, I mean, why don't we call it organic gas? I mean, it's a marketing term. It's methane primarily, that's the product. And while that product is in fact in the generation of electricity, it burns cleaner than coal, so it emits less carbon dioxide per unit of energy. The manner in which it's extracted is prone to leak, and methane is 85 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So all you need to have is 2 to 3% of the product escape during the extraction process or the transportation process, and you're worse than coal, or you're on a par with coal in terms of pollution. Add on to that the hydraulic fracturing process uses thousands and thousands of tons of water injected with all kinds of cancer-causing chemicals. I mean, you're polluting the groundwater. It's a disaster. So. That's not how we're going to make America great.
What about the alternatives to meet the growing demand for energy? I guess we're talking about either nuclear, solar, wind, or hydropower. I mean, can you get enough of that for the growth that's
we got to try. We do have to try. And in fact, part of what the Boston Clean Energy Coalition is pushing is, in the built environment, we can do so much better in terms of efficiency. We can reduce the need for energy by upgrading our standards, our requirements for buildings. The Europeans have been promoting what's called passive house. For all this development that's happening in Boston, we're not pushing and saying, look, you need to build buildings that are south-facing, that sort of capture the passive benefits of orientation towards the sun, with incredibly tight envelopes and air exchange mechanisms, so that you keep the heat in the winter and you keep the cool air in the summer. It's possible to build buildings that, if you put solar panels on them, they become energy positive. And we're not doing that. We're not pushing that. So that's our big sort of idea.
By the way, right now we see these 12 buildings that look like they have glass on the outside. Maybe it's not exactly glass. What does that mean for, let's say, heating in the winter or air conditioning in the summer?
That envelope is going to be much less efficient. Actually, there was a great op-ed piece in the Globe a couple of months ago, sort of pointing out that if we're serious about climate change, the mitigation side, then we absolutely should be building more efficient buildings. And a glass exterior is not the answer. No.
This is BNN News. We're talking with James Michel from the Boston Clean Energy Coalition. Also, there's going to be some sort of regulation going on around this pipeline, a hearing coming up later this week?
Here's the situation, Chris. Unfortunately, the process for considering this particular project has really been done privately between National Grid and the city administration. I don't know if that's the norm. I think we need to fix it. There is a public hearing that's going to happen this Thursday. There was one a week ago Thursday in front of the Public Improvement Commission, the PIC, which is really the heads of city agencies that are charged with the nitty-gritty operations. It's, public works, public utilities, those kind of, and what they're really considering is, did National Grid submit plans that make sense so that they're not going to be crossing sewer lines or, disrupting electricity line, et cetera. What we want is a deeper consideration, which is this strategically the kind of investments, infrastructure investments we should be making in the city? I'm pleased to say that the City Council unanimously passed a resolution a week ago that urged the PIC to delay consideration until there had been a full airing of the consistency of this project with the city's climate mitigation goals. So that's exciting. I think people are waking up. But yeah, part of what we need to do is have a much more open and transparent process to consider projects like this.
Talking about getting people to wake up, you tried that a bit early this year with an event in the Back Bay to see if there was enough concern. You got some response to that, didn't you?
Yes, no, I think there are elected officials. I think, we're all busy people. I'm retired, so I get to do this. I get to be kind of fully committed to activism, but that's not always possible. But I do think that certainly in Massachusetts, there's a real awareness that climate change is real. We have to deal with it seriously. The big goal is to absolutely decrease our use of fossil fuels. And for me, that means stop investing now, stop digging the hole deeper. Frack gas is not a bridge fuel, just not so. And we have to really work hard to make our buildings more efficient, to push renewable energy, to develop that green economy. The offshore wind, is really where it's at. That's kind of our best bet. We've got, we're well positioned to be national leaders in that. I'm rocking the Community Choice Energy T-shirt for you today. That was a campaign that built on actually a fairly old state statute that allows municipalities to hire an energy broker and really up the requirement for the mix of renewable energies in their purchased electricity. So that's something that the city did adopt and we're excited about and hope to see implemented.
And finally, you've got the website that people can go to for updates and details?
It's the Boston Clean Energy Coalition. We're a coalition, so it's bostoncleanenergycoalition.org. We have a Facebook page as well. We are a coalition of several grassroots and nonprofit environmentally oriented groups. We'd like everybody to be involved.
Thank you very much for being with us.
All right.
James Michel from the Boston Clean Energy Coalition. In a moment, how to measure performance on the MBTA. We'll hear about some ideas for rapid transit lines from MassPIRG.